to the Drew Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impacts. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins. All right, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. Today, we're answering the question, if you're still saying AI implementation, you're probably doing it wrong. Now, most leaders are saying, how do we implement AI as if it's a tool? But the better question is, what value does our organization create? And how can we accelerate that value creation? AI isn't a software, it's a leadership decision. Joining me today is Gregory van Duyse, CEO of Leap AI. He helps companies stop bolting AI. He helps companies stop bolting AI onto broken workflows and start embedding intelligence and automation directly into operations. This delivers measurable results within weeks, not within years. If you're a CEO or a CTO trying to make AI actually work inside your business, this conversation is for you. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Gregory.
Hey, Drew. Hi.
Hey, man. So we got introduced through a mutual friend, Daniel. Great guy. Actually, whenever Daniel recommends a friend to me, it's an automatic yes. I don't even question it. Daniel's fantastic. Got great judge of character. And I was stunned by the depths of insight that you have, both technically and from a leadership perspective on AI. And so I knew I had to have you on the show. But before we get into AI, which is what everybody's paying to see here, let's talk about leadership a little bit. You've done a lot of fun things. You've been a CEO of tech companies. You've been doing this since 2009, and then you did something cool in West Africa. Talk to me about what happened in Africa.
Well, I wanted to do something different. At that time, I had 5 kids and decided I would make a goal of when am I going to take my family and we're going to go live in Africa for a year or two. And we did that. So 5 kids, my wife, 28 suitcases. We show up in Benin, West Africa. And while I was there, I saw a lot of poverty and a lot of young men and women graduating from university and having no chances to having any jobs. And what I decided to do is to start a university that would teach leadership and entrepreneurship in English. So it's a French country. So I would teach them English and then the leadership and entrepreneurship so that they could start creating their own businesses and their own jobs. We did that 7-8 years. And then in 2019, went back. I had 7 kids then. So more suitcases, and we show up again in Benin. And this time we served there for about 9 months. It was just before COVID in 2019. And we started an orphanage, and it's a family-based orphanage. So we take care of kids, but within family context. So I'm still involved with that, and I love it. And I have a big part of my heart in Africa.
That is beautiful. My wife and I love this ministry called Zoe Ministry, and it does something, it sounds like your adoption in a family scenario sort of a thing. Yeah, we absolutely love it. One of the things that from a business perspective, I love about Africa, helping in Africa, is that it's such a low dollar amount to make such a big difference. Whereas in America, I'm literally raising a PE fund right now, and we're looking at 6 digits to start the game with. Whereas in Africa, for just a little bit of money, you can make a massive difference. What are some of your favorite story of like empowerment? The moment that you're like, yes, we're doing good here. Tell me your favorite story from the Africa work.
I've probably helped about 300 students and helping them start businesses. And I have now some students that are in Dubai, some in Canada, some around the world in the US. They're starting businesses. What I love about it the most is that until you have a solid revenue stream of one way, a job or something, you're not starting your family. You're not getting married. You're not having kids. And I love to see my past students getting married, having families, getting kids, because I know they're doing it. And it's hard. It's hard. Business is hard. Leadership is hard.
Yeah.
But I know, and it's hard in Africa too. But I know that they're moving forward. And I think that makes a huge difference for me. So just to see the human side of them, seeing their kids, it's really cool. And I'll give you another thing quickly.
Yeah, please.
3 weeks ago, one of my students shows up at the orphanage, and I'm not going to say his name, and I'm super grateful. He shows up at the orphanage with food and $4,000 US. to donate to the orphanage. And it was like a full circle thing, like the work that I had done to help these young people grow and become leaders. Like he was able in Africa to come up with $4,000 and to help the next project I have, which is helping these kids that are just struggling to have a family and a home where people can love them. And so it was like so cool to see that. It was like, I loved it.
No, I absolutely love it. Yeah. The team that we work with, we help sponsor a group, and about 4 or 5 years later, some of the graduates of that group had begun pulling in and starting their own like little micro groups. Yeah, that's like the whole reason I have this show is because if those of us that are in the light, we're near the fire, we're near the economies, we've had these benefits. If we can give back a little bit, we can spread that flame and bring a little warmth to the world. I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about how does that translate over into boring everyday first world country business. You have this really interesting take on AI. It's different than most people I hear, which is why I wanted you on the show. But before we get kind of in it, so kind of explain to me your thesis there. We're going to leave RSI for later, but talk to me about that and tell me about some of the customers that you've worked with and what you've done for them.
Yeah, perfect. So we mostly work with medium-sized businesses and trying to put AI within the work they actually do. So a lot of people are selling AI tools and they say, here's my tool, you have to implement it. And often, the company has to conform to what this tool does and how it does it. It's just another thing to deal with. That's not the best way to implement AI, especially if you're a medium-sized business. We go in, find out exactly how the business works, what's their process. We value map how each department does their work, and then find the right opportunities to really implement AI to create more efficiency or create more values for their client. And that's where the game is. And then we can implement it in the way that they do it, keeping the human in the loop. There's a problem when you try to have the client have direct connection with the AI or system. There's some trust erosion that we see in the marketplace that you don't want to see. So we keep humans in the loop where they matter, and then help them to be amplified to do more. Like rather than having like one of the businesses we're working with, $5 million of revenue, 33 employees. And so that's about 66,000 hours of work a year that they pay for. That gives them about a $76 of revenue per employee paid.
Yeah.
The goal is for them to go up to $122 of revenue per employee paid. So grow the business, have the same staff or a little bit more, and then the profit margin just goes really high. So that's part of finding out what works for each business and amplifying that with AI.
Yeah. So what I want to just emphasize here is that we're talking about AI, we're talking about AI implementation, but we are starting the conversation with basic business. I'm going to rewind the clock here about a decade. I had a good friend. He was running a water bottle company, and he was bringing in new technology, and we might have had a couple of beers, maybe, between 1 and 8, somewhere between there, and he starts ranting about the fact that so often as a business owner, you're told, oh, I'm going to bring in this system, but then you're not allowed to fire anybody, or you're not going to get rid of anybody. So you're really just adding cost to the company. I've been through 2 SAP implementations at large enterprise companies, and SAP charges you a couple $100 million for the privilege of paying them an additional couple $100 million to customize it. And then after 5 years, you realize that you didn't really customize anything. You just conformed to the way that SAP likes to eat data. And so there's this idea that, I need software to be more efficient, but then that software forces your human systems to obey and adapt. And what you're proposing is something completely different, which is, hey, let's take a look at what the humans are doing. And let's look at their metrics, their individual metrics. I think you said $72 or $76 per employee. Can we move that up to more profitable? I think most people are like, well, I'm going to lose some profitability per customer when I implement this system, so I'm just going to need to scale my volume so that I can make up for it. And that's kind of the accepted thought. But that's not what you're proposing at all.
No, I mean, AI is really about bringing more intelligence, Like the word I in AI is intelligence, and intelligence is getting a lot cheaper. And what it would cost you to hire a PhD today would cost you $250,000 a
Mhm.
year, roughly, maybe a bit more depending on the field.
Yeah.
You can have access to PhD level intelligence right now for $200 a month.
Yeah.
And now that, so that's pretty amazing. So if you think
Yeah.
about it, like what are the levers that businesses have used in the past? They've used lever of capital. They used a lever of machine for efficiency. They used a lever of information. Like that's what, the computer revolution did. Now we have a new lever, which is intelligence. We've always had it. We called it, our employees, but now we
Right.
get to increase the intelligence that we have. So it's a new dimension of change, and it's going to change how business actually works. Now, I'm 100% with you. First of all, I think that if you really want to win in this age of AI, you want to take care of people.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in going in and just firing 6,000 customer service agents and replacing them with AI bots. I think, first of all, the businesses that have done that have had to hire some of them back because there's something called trust erosion that happens when you just trust the AI too fast to deal with your customers. And I think they don't measure those metrics, but they need to. Most companies that have done that and rehired, they rehired because they saw the churn go up. And so
Mhm.
that's hitting their revenue line, and they're like, okay, this is not working the way we thought. So we like to look at how does the business actually work? What is the process? They've already figured out. They already have their staff doing work in a certain way. They have processes and they understand the nuance of work. So you want the people that are at the very, very edge of the work to be part of this revolution. If you start laying them off, if you start saying, hey, help me implement AI in the business so I can fire you, you're going to stall the entire system. Nobody's going to want to help you. So yes, they're going to be there and help you a little bit, but they're not going to give you all the secrets of how the work really happens and all the intricacies of how that work needs to be done to deliver the real value that your customers are accustomed to. So you need the human element. So the only way to do that is to be early in AI development, to create
Mm.
efficiency for your business, and then to make sure that every employee that has part of their work implemented through AI has a career path where they win also. So this is the new, I think, the new social contract that companies need to think about. Help us win with AI, and we'll make sure that you win in your future career. And
So
that's important.
I love that contract because it's the old contract. So I was born at a certain time period. I was about 2 years behind all the really good golden handcuffs. Right when I first entered the workplace, I got a set of like brass handcuffs. They were still yellow, but they weren't the same as my friends that had the full pension with the extra vacation days. And so I watched this erosion of benefits. Like my first child, I think it cost us $50 after, and we went to the hospital. We paid $50. We stayed in the hospital 3 days. We took Aubrey home. My last child, which was about a decade later, we paid $5,000 to stay for a day and a half in the hospital. Right. So there was this social contract in the 80s and the 90s in which you got this huge benefit and you were really loyal to a company.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we have this opportunity to restock that contract and say, listen, as we get more productive, you're going to reap a benefit as opposed to the current, husk of what that old contract used to be.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, if I'm going to implement efficiency in my business, that means I can do more work with the staff that I have. And
Yeah.
if I can get 50% more or 100% more, that means that in order to keep the same number of people on staff, I have to double my revenue. And so part of the game is to find efficiency through AI, but also find growth opportunities at the same time. And that is a leadership issue. So what most companies, what they worry too much about is that, okay, we have all these tools, we have to do it. Let's call the IT department and have them implement AI. But AI is not an IT technology opportunity. It's a leadership opportunity. It's the entire the entire business is going to have to change, and both on the growth and revenue side, as well as the efficiency, and also in planning for the future, because AI is going to change the value proposition of every industry.
Yeah.
And by that, what I mean is that we are used to serving our clients to one level because that's what we could do. The money that they gave us as a revenue or as a sales only allowed us to provide this much value because we were doing everything with humans. But
Yes.
now, if we're more efficient, I can double the value. So what happens in my industry if my competitors start doubling value that they give to their customer and I don't? Right?
Then you're going to lose them. Yeah,
You're gonna lose
100%.
So the value proposition might change. The efficiency will make that happen. And if you're not looking at this as a leadership problem, you're going to miss that. You're going to miss that reality. That this is not just about implementing some tools. This is how I'm going to lead my industry in the next years.
100%. When I talk to, so I'm a big innovation guy. I'm a big inventor guy. I love the new shiny bauble, right? Like the engineering motto is if it's not broken, add more features. That's the motto. But I tell people true innovation is when we go from a stick to a hoe. So we had some corn and we like poked a hole in the ground with our finger and we put the corn in. Then we're like, oh, we could do that with a stick. And then we're like, oh, we could do that with a hoe. And then we're like, oh, we could do that with a plow. And, oh, we could do that with a tractor. And in every step of that value chain, we're doing the same action. We're just doing it 100 times better, to the point now that there's only 40,000 farmers in America that are producing like 80% of the crop. So that's what innovation does. Is it allows fewer people to do way more. And I love your words, way more value, to create way more value. And that's a leadership problem. That's a strategic problem. That is a leadership question of how do I get my team to create more value, instead of the traditional question, which is how can I get my customer to think I made more value for them, which is kind of what we've been stuck in for the last 15, 20 years, I think.
Yeah. And AI is going to play a role in that because we're providing a capacity to do work, which is how we create value, at a faster pace, doing it more 24/7. I can spun up agents, not just one or two. I can spun up 1,000 of them if I need to. Right. And I can spin them up and then spin them down within a half an hour. So work can get done. And so I can provide more value for the cost. Like I'll give you an example of a client. We have a client that's a real estate broker, an MGA, and he has about 200 agents and they're on the phone with clients all the time and they're doing these sales calls all the time. And what they found is that when they're able to listen to the phone calls of these agents with the clients and able to give feedback to the agents, they sell more. So they started hiring someone that all day, this person every day listens to calls and then creates an assessment and then coaches the agents about how to improve their skills at, working with clients. So imagine you're paying, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year for a senior person that really understands the job to listen to calls every day. And of course, if you're doing 500 or 600 calls a week, you can't listen to everything, right?
No.
So he's like 2% of the calls, right?
Yeah.
And so what we did, which was really cool, is we started taking every single call and analyzing the call with AI and being able to give the exact reality of this call, and based on the framework of sales that they are using, like based on the methodology of sales that they're using, we're grading every single part and giving them, okay, at minute so and so, like this is what happened. You can click on the link. Anyway, the whole sales call is analyzed. So now for $200 a month, every sales call is created.
So,
Is done. So it's no longer $80,000 a year. It's $200 a month of tokens. And they were able to find things that they didn't even knew existed because now they're looking at every single sales call.
and that's not we're not talking about a world of 10% or 15%, even 30% improvement. We're talking about orders of magnitude, like 2 orders of magnitude improvement. This is, I was an engineer for a good portion of my career, and it's actually a really interesting science. How often do I need to sample my production size to make sure that I have good quality? Now, ideally, you'd want to do 100% inspection of 100% of the steps, right? But that's not a practical thing. That doesn't exist. That would be so expensive to make anything you couldn't possibly do it. So then you're like, well, maybe I'll do it 1 in 100. Maybe I'll do 1 in 1,000. Maybe I'll just do it at these 4 critical steps. But AI proposes essentially 100% inspection, in this case of a call or other things in your factory. All right, so now we run into another problem. So we know that we can inspect infinitely more than we used to be able to. But now I got to spin up a SaaS company to make the software that's going to make this for me. I kind of run my business very differently than all my competitors do. That's my competitive advantage. So how do I get this software? And honestly, this is where I got super excited about Leap. So Leap AI comes in and they can write custom software also at a fraction of the price. So we're going to multiply the amount of inspections or the amount of quality touches we can do, and we're going to reduce the effort to make that happen. It's kind of insane. Talk to me about the difference between SaaS and this custom work that you're doing.
It's a really good point. I mean, SaaS pretty much was this idea that, this company is going to spend all this money and all these resources building this amazing tool so that other companies don't have to invest all that money in doing it. And they were going to spend, millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. You can take Salesforce as an example of a SaaS company. It would take a lot to recreate Salesforce. And so that it worked. But what happens is that when you take a SaaS product in your company, you have to conform your staff to work in this new way. This is the tool. These are the fields. You can customize it most of the time, but you still have to conform to it. And the human is the GUI. The human is the one going here, typing here, going to the email, cutting this part, putting it there. Like we're like the monkey in between our systems.
Yeah, not
trying
the
to
worker,
putting all of the work, making it work, right? We're the grease making all these SaaS products working within our business. Automation and AI now makes it possible, so that becomes that one continuum where you don't need to use your time cutting and pasting, put this data here and this data there. Let computers do that. They do it really well. And let intelligence do that. You take care of the customer. You take care of finding out the real value. You take care of relationships. That's what AI is not going to be doing right away. And so I think that right now what I'm seeing is that we can create these tools for a lot cheaper than what people used to be able to do it, because AI is getting pretty good at coding. And if you know how to do it, I can code something for you that's custom made, that's doing it exactly the way you do it right now at a fraction of what it used to cost. So am I going to replace Salesforce tomorrow? No. But can I create a CRM that's built just for your business and that doesn't have all the bells and whistles that you don't use on Salesforce, but it's using everything that you need and it's integrated in everything you do? Absolutely. And it's not going to cost as much as people think, because AI is helping us to build these tools. So, and that's really incredible.
Yeah, I've kind of intuited this moment. I think I started playing with ChatGPT in 2022, maybe. I was doing a lot of data entry. I was reformatting a bunch of data for the government, and I got a hold of a piece of ChatGPT, and I redid the work. What would take me about a week of like reading multiple procedures and then formatting them properly. It did it in 15 seconds. And because I had just done that PDF, I knew exactly. So I knew if it was right or wrong, and it was 100%. It frankly caught some things that I had missed, and it did it in 15 seconds. Now that's just data transformation. I realized that other things are a little more complicated, but I thought, man, there's a future out there, and I think we've hit it now, where I don't have to find the right SaaS product. I can just write it myself. And when so is it Daniel? Daniel is one of your tech geniuses. He showed me, no, it's Benjamin. Excuse me, it's Benjamin. He walked me through some of your all's customer cases, and I was like, this is what I've been talking about. This is custom software where we're just removing the friction from the system. We're taking a look at your current system, like as a process flow diagram, and we're saying these two modules cost you the most time. Let's smooth those over with a little micro piece, a little microservice that makes sense. Let's do that here. Let's do that here. This is the order that we should do it in. It puts in your hand like, so I grew up next to a big Toyota factory. So Toyota production system, lean manufacturing, that was a thing, but that was a thing for rich companies. That was a thing for huge enterprise. There's no way you could justify getting the consultant and writing the custom software for your business. If you're below 100 million, it's not a thing, but it is a thing today. And what I love about your all's approach is that you all see AI as the friction remover, as the grease in the wheels, as you're replacing humans back to where they should be, which is as the intelligent thinkers and deciders and the leaders of the organization. So talk to me about your 7 pillars.
Just before that, let me just comment on what you just said. If you, I don't mind talking about the 7 pillars. One of the things that is crucial is speed in the future of business. And what I see is that when we have these tools, and like it's a SaaS, meaning that someone else controls the code, someone else built it. And if you want a new feature or you want to connect to it, you have to ask them and you have to wait for them to build an API. You have to wait for them to get to it. You no longer have the speed of how to transform your business. And in the coming future, speed is going to matter more than anything. As we transform businesses and we change the value proposition, you will want to have the customized system so that you can actually evolve your business at the speed of how the market is changing and how you want to interact with that market. So I find that all the time, like it's like you're imprisoned by your current system. And so part of what you need is to decouple a little bit. It doesn't mean you need to remove all of your software. Some of the software is integrated within, like you were talking about this SAP or an ERP. Nobody's removing ERPs tomorrow because it's so integrated. But it's possible now to still decouple a little bit from it so that you can still have it work with everything else. The 7 pillars, you brought it up, and it's going to go with the speed. I think we're going to talk about it. We help businesses that don't know what to do about AI create these custom strategy plans. But as we're doing this, we're seeing, hey, there's some things every business should do. Every organization, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter which industry you're in. It doesn't matter what your software is. There's some principles that you need to implement to be ready for tomorrow and to lead your market in the future. And so we decided to call those pillars. And pillars because they're no-brainers for everyone, right? Customized, like every business will have their own custom plan, but these pillars, they work for everyone. And really what we wanted to explain is what are the key strategic things you need to do as a foundation so that you end up being a market leader in the future rather than becoming irrelevant. So we're going to see a transformation. It's going to change every industry, every business, and we're going to see some leaders and they're going to change the market. We're going to see some laggers, and those are going to become irrelevant because they won't be able to keep pace with everybody else. And customers are just going to choose with their feet and their wallet and their bank account to go elsewhere because they're getting served better, more value somewhere else.
So as you're talking here, this is what's kind of bubbling in my brain, and it's kind of been on the periphery, but it wasn't until you said that it really clicked for me. A lot of companies are doing just fine. They're getting by. They're where they want to be. They're doing good. They're doing okay because everybody is constrained by human speed. So if your systems aren't efficient, that's okay. We can just have Greg work a little overtime or Sally work a little overtime, and we'll get it done. We're all one family here. We're going to get this thing done. But in the future, the companies that are really clear about their operations and then can add AI to speed up those operations are going to leave the average companies in the dust. It's no longer going to be, we do a good job. Maybe we work a little bit harder. Maybe we don't hit as many. We're not as put together as that other company. That's not going to be a thing anymore. It's going to be the companies who can really know their business and have accurately added AI. Those are the companies that are going to leave everybody else in the dust.
Yeah, because if I want to do more work faster and serve my customer better, and Sally's working with me, and I need more, I need to hire another Sally. And the cost to do that is pretty much the same for me as it's going to be with my competitor. So it's the same cost. So if my competitor wants to also improve their business and provide more value, do more things, they also need to hire another Sally. And, Sally is going to require the same cost. But if I can go and say, hey, I know exactly what Sally does, 90% of it. And I'm going to ask Sally to keep an eye on it, but also to do these other things that I think is going to help our business grow. But now I need to do 5 times more. I can spin up 5 AIs that do 5 times what Sally does at a fraction of what the payroll was. So if my competitor is still thinking I have to hire 5 more Sallys, we're not competing at the same level. I have a tractor, you're still there with your stick poking the ground to put one seed at a time. It's no longer the same game. And
Yeah.
whenever we've seen these industrial revolution, computer electricity revolution, this is what it's all been about. It's always been about efficiency and cost per unit of work. We're changing that with AI. And
Yeah.
and it's going to change. Like, honestly, it's going to change. Every industry will go through their own change speed. But you want to be ready. You want to have the foundation in place, and you want to know. And this is what I think most business owners think of AI as a tool they're going to add. They don't understand what's coming, and so you can't prepare for what you don't see coming. So if you don't have the vision of, and I think we're going to talk about recursive self-improvement, or RSI, right now. If you don't have
Yeah.
a vision that that's coming, you cannot lay the groundwork to be ready for that moment when recursive self-improvement, RSI, is going to hit your industry and your competitors are doing it. And it's a little bit science fiction, but it's coming. It's coming, and you need to be clear about it.
Yeah, let's take that left-hand turn here. This is actually maybe the most important part of the show. Recursive self-improvement. Now, you and I both come from a leadership background. We've both led teams. We've operated companies. We teach leadership, and we've seen the effect. Essentially, what we're doing is we're allowing a new individual, let's say a junior manager of some sort, and we're saying, hey, listen, this is some lessons learned. I want you to understand this is how this works. I'm going to put you on this project to try this out. And we're trying to get cycles of learning in to that individual with our best practices. And eventually, all of us that have made it anywhere in leadership, we have our own little rules of thumb that we have. Like, this works, this doesn't work, this is the best way to do this little task. That is a very slow version of RSI. So talk to me about what RSI is and where you see business going as we talk about implementing AI in our businesses.
You know, what we've seen, and I'm going to go back to your Toyota connection because I love TPS, I love Lean. We saw Toyota become the leader in the car manufacturing and building some of the best cars that just work because they're continuously improving every work process all the time. If you study Toyota, that's exactly what they do. They're more of a learning company than a car making company. And they take that learning to make sure that they build cars that last, that work, and everything. And they're really amazing at it. But they're using staff and humans to do this continuous improvement, and which is how we've been able to do it thus far. And that's why they have leapfrogged the market in a lot of ways. World War II destroyed Japan, go from nothing into the world leading company, car manufacturer in 50 to 70 years. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So continuous self-improvement is still continuous improvement. But now there's that recursive, which means that we're going to be doing it again and again and again and again, cycle after cycle. And the system improves itself on its own. And the best example that we have of this right now is the Frontier AI labs. If you look at OpenAI, Gemini, Anthropic, xAI, what they're building right now is not just AI. They're building a mechanism so that AI can build better AI in the future automatically. And that's what recursive self-improvement is. So though that industry, what they're trying to do is to build 2 types of bots. They want to have an AI researcher or scientist comes up with an idea, a hypothesis, designs the test, tests it in the system, see if it improves it or not. And then if it worked, great, let's implement it so that we get the fruit of that improvement. The other part that they're building is an AI coder. If I can actually write new code and I can run a test, then tell the coder how to run the code better, then these two agents work to each other and create new ideas, measure data. Does it work? Okay, the scientist did the job. It gives the instruction to the coder. It codes it into the system. And now if you do that cycle after cycle every single day and you're improving a little bit and a little bit, you have an exponential curve of growth. And they want to do that with AI so that human are not like the human scientists and engineers are not the only one improving the AI. The AI is improving the AI. And that is what will become, AGI, and that's what RSI, they're all working on it right now. I believe most of it have it working with humans in the middle, making decisions. The minute they're able to remove the human from the middle and the agents are improving the AI on its own, we're going to see an explosion of intelligence. It might be this year, it might be next year, but we're going to see 10, 100x better AI than we have today because of that. So that's what they're working on, right?
Right.
And the question is, if they can do it, why can't any other business do it also?
Yep. In fact, if you're doing a good job in your business, you should be having some level of retrospective right now where you're, I like to have my teams do a daily stand-up. Everybody that's ever worked with me, we all do a daily stand-up, which is just, let's sync up with where we are. And inevitably, these little friction points come out in that conversation. And then you as the leader, you just kind of collect those and you put them in a stack. And then once a month or so, we take a look at that stack. And we're like, which is the most important of these to fix? What's really causing this? If you have a large organization, you do it more frequently than that. And every client I've ever worked with have no problems, no operational problems in their organization. We start running the daily stand-up, and all of a sudden, all of the things that are causing fires, I call it the skeleton closet. I find the skeleton closet, and all of these skeletons start falling out. These are the little friction points that add up in the organization. Recursive RSI within your organization, you don't have to wait for the daily stand-up to slowly matriculate those ideas. Those things can be flagged pretty quickly. And when you run into a firefight, you can then backtrack really quickly. And that comes from, a lot of folks, they run the process in their head, not on paper, not in the AI system. And so they can't ever figure out what's causing all of these little things to happen.
Yeah. I'm not saying that today, 2026, every
Right.
company can do RSI. I'm not saying that. We're not there yet. But is it going to be 2027, 2028, 2029 when somebody in your industry starts to figure out how to create that recursive, continuous self-improvement inside of their business? And when that happens, how are you going to compete with them? If you can't follow, how are you going to compete with them? And so I think today, because we're not there yet, I don't think any business has a true RSI system. Because we're not there yet, you have to lay the foundation so that you can do it. Maybe you'll be the first. Maybe you'll be able to follow the people that are doing it the first. And so that's what the 7 pillars are about, is laying that foundation so that it works. And so I'm just going to give a couple ideas of what that means. First of all, your data. Does all your data live in one place where an AI can have access to it and understand it? Today, AI is not perfect at understanding all kinds of data. It has to be structured and clean and everything. Once AI is 100 times smarter than it is today, it will understand all your data. When you're having meetings, making decisions for your business as a board or as an executive team, are you recording those meetings? Because that's data. And do you want to feed all of your previous business decisions to an AI in the future that will be able to understand why you made the choices you made? You're going to be training your future AI in understanding your business philosophy because you've recorded all your business meetings with your team, your executives, your department heads, and everything. Most businesses are not capturing that data today. So you want to have, go ahead.
I think most businesses would be embarrassed to capture some of the conversations that are occurring.
And of course, there's confidentiality and all of that, but your AI is going to be yours. You're not going to be using an open AI that's going to leak that information in the whole world. You're going to keep it from within. But that's data people are not collecting. So one of the jobs to do to prepare for the future is to have a data lake, to take all the data streams and to bring them together so that you have access to it. The second thing with data is, do you have strong KPI boards? Do you understand how your business runs by the numbers? Because if you can't look at numbers and make sense of how your business is improving, how will AI in a recursive self-improvement know whether something is improving the business or not? Like, do you know your marketing numbers? Do you know your sales conversion numbers? Do you understand your productivity numbers? And every business has different KPIs. So unless you have really good data lakes being formed and you're capturing all this new data that you've never captured, and you have your KPI boards, your AI in the future won't know how to help you improve. The researcher AI won't be able to run tests on your business to know if this idea has legs or not, right?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of starting to create what I call a digital twin of your business, a digital version, a model, so you can simulate ideas, right? So you can create a simulation of your business through data so that you know that when I do this, this is what happens. And if you start creating this digital twin, and I don't think anybody's there yet, and you have this model, you can start thinking that AI is going to help me come up with ideas, to test them, to see if there's what's the probability of this working, so that now I can make it work in the real world and see if it actually worked. And the more you do that, the more you're starting to do recursive self-improvement inside of your business.
Yeah. And I love that you're bringing up the digital twin idea. A lot of marketing is spent hyping some increase in some feature at the cost of what I call the corners. So when I was at Bell, we had this laminate laying machine. So you're putting down carbon fiber in like little tiny strips. So it's a lot like a 3D printer. So when you run when you like run a straight run, that is one speed. But when you turn the corner, the nature of the fibers, you can't turn them too quickly because they kind of bunch up on each other. They make a mess. And so laying down a curve takes a bit of time. The machine can, like the robot arm can do it fast, but the material that you're laying down can't do it fast. So we were at this industry forum, and this guy's pitching his new machine. He's like, "Oh, you need to buy our new machine because it can go 5 times as fast as your current machine can." And I said, "Well, what about the corners?" He said, "What do you mean?" I was like, "How fast can you turn the corner?" Because for every straight run, I have 2 corners. And he's like, "Oh, we're about the same as your current machine." I was like, "Okay, so you're saving me 5 times as much time on about a third of the process." Like, just because the corners are what get you. And having an AI that perfectly models how your system really runs, so I could make my expense reporting 5 times faster, but now it's harder for the person to put in the expense report, or the bookkeeper, or the financial cycle, whatever. Truly managing the handoffs in the organization. A lot of people sell solutions that make the corners much more expensive.
Absolutely. And so that's an important point. And what you're saying is that it's only when you're an expert in that work that you actually see those nuances, right? And that's why I think one of the first 2 pillars we have is working with your staff, training them so that they know how to innovate with AI. They're already the expert. They already understand the corner of every single work, the work portion or that you have. So help them innovate with you. But they're not going to innovate to get themselves fired and removed from and not having a career anymore. So the pillar 2 will be work a win-win, so that now there's a new social contract. We probably call it growing together, a people approach to the AI era. And I've already talked about pillar 3, which is your data lakes and your KPI board. So you can start seeing, if I have all of this together, my people are set. They are comfortable knowing that AI is not going to replace them because the company has my back. And I have my data, my KPIs. Those are the first 3 to have internally done so that you can succeed. After that, you need to start thinking, and this is something that I think is important. Pillar 4 for us is about having strategic urgency. There's 2 things. You can wait, and AI will get cheaper to implement in the future. Guaranteed.
Yeah, sure.
But that's at a cost. And the cost is you might be too late to catch up whoever started first. And so for right now, I think the pillar 4 is it's important to start building now. You do not want to wait. Most companies are waiting right now, and I'll tell you what I think I see. I call it sleeping on AI, and this is why I don't know what to do next. I know it's important. I know it's going to change my industry. Greg, thank you, but what do I do next? And because it's so big and it's not just a simple thing, they put it on the back burner and they focus on something that they can actually wrap their head around, and that's what they focus on, right? That's our natural human tendency. And so I think most businesses need to have someone come in, look at their work, and create a plan about how AI can actually transform them into a market leader.
I think as I'm thinking about this and I'm listening to the stories here, it kind of reminds me, I think a lot of business folks, they kind of sit on the sidelines, they sit a couple rows back, and they just watch all the hustlers out there. And they say, listen, I'm going to let these guys do all the headache. I'm going to let them hustle. And once one of them figures out something that works real well, I'll be able to spool up a team and catch them. And AI is not that way. If you don't have the infrastructure put in place and the data lakes put in place now, when you figure out which AI strategy you need to implement, you're going to have to sit down and spend months putting in the structures and putting in the data lakes. And in that time, because of the speed of AI, your competitor is going to have dominated the market. So I think the pace of human improvement has allowed people to say, listen, I'm just going to wait and then I'll sprint and catch up real quick and I won't have to do all the headache. But that's not the way the markets are going to develop.
There's a real danger. We're used to linear growth, right? We're used to things taking 5-10 years for it to transform, like the internet revolution took a long time, right? AI is going really fast. There's a report that came out that since 2012 until now, AI has grown at half an order of magnitude a year. That's a 5x a year. And right now, I think we're a little faster than that. And as soon as we get to AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and we get to RSI, recursive self-improvement inside of AI, I think we're going to see 2 to 3 order of magnitudes. So we might see 10x, 100x in a year. So don't think of AI based on what you see it today. Think about it. What happens when it's 10 times smarter, 100 times smarter? That's what you have to really keep your eye on it. I have a story. We were talking to a client. We've been doing some work with them, implementing AI systems. We had actually implemented 3 or 4 AI systems or projects within their company. And they go to a conference. And at the conference, of course, every conference now has a panel on the future of AI within the business, like every one of them, right? So they're sitting down. He's already implementing AI. And he's like interested to see what are they going to say. And so this panel is there, and basically it's all insurance brokers and MGA, and they say to each other and the panel, we're going to let the insurance carriers or companies build the AI for us. We're going to wait for them to do that for us. Our client is there in his chair, and he's like, you have no idea. I will eat you for lunch. That's the exact thing he said to us, that he thought, I will eat you for lunch. And he shut his mouth. He didn't say one word because he knew they were already working on this behind closed doors. None of their competitors know what they're doing. And they're just taking an advanced lead that while they're waiting for someone else to build it for them. And that is so incredible. Now,
and that's the model, right? That's the model is I'm going to wait for somebody to make the SaaS product that I can just buy, and then I'll just keep up with the Joneses, and we'll all reduce, we'll all increase profit margins by this much, but market share will stay the same. In other words, I'm just going to wait for somebody else to do the hard thinking and take the risk for me. And then your client was like, nope, I'm just going to take the entire market.
And he is, honestly, he already, like, really cool strategy, really, really cool strategy. And so being early, paying a little bit more because you're doing customized work, it's built into your system, makes you faster, but also gives you that lead that I'm not sure people are going to be able to catch up as fast as that window closes down in the future.
Well, and I think the SaaS is dead. So the proposition of SaaS, and we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the show, the proposition of software as a service is it's so expensive and it takes so much time to develop an averagely performing software that I need to sell it to the entire industry.
Hmm.
In the future, there's no incentive for me. Let's say that I'm a major insurance carrier. There's no incentive for me to share my AI secrets with you because that AI is going to make me so profitable and it's so cheap to develop and it's so fast to develop. I'm just going to keep it for myself and I'm just going to dominate the market. It's going to completely flip business models. And I think people need to engage that concept that you can't wait for somebody else to develop and then you'll just buy a ticket to the show. Folks aren't going to do large shows anymore. They're going to do their own private deck, and then that's what's going to dominate the market.
And Drew, how are you going to do recursive self-improvement in your business if you're working with a SaaS company?
Right.
Are you going to say, hey, we have this great idea. It's going to work. I need a new feature. Can you please build that? It's going to take 6 months. Like, no, your AI is coming up with these ideas on a daily, hourly basis. So unless you make it possible to build on top of whatever you have, you won't be able to build that. You won't have that. You're handcuffed into an old technology that cannot adapt at that speed. And so I honestly think market leaders, they need to look at the tools they're using and to start building customized application to make it all work together. It is more costly than buying a SaaS off the shelf, but you're building the future of your business. And whether you are still allowed to compete in the future or not will depend on that.
Yeah.
And that's what, and it's moving too fast. Like the world changed 3 weeks ago when Claude 4.6 Opus came out. It changed. And it's going to change in 3 weeks from now when someone else comes out. Maybe it's going to be Grok 5. It changes so fast. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, we are running out of time. We're actually over what I run for most shows. I'm going to give you a couple minutes just to talk to the audience. I know you've said a lot of really interesting things. Just help. The floor is yours. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here. While you're doing that, this is how you get a hold of Gregory. This is his LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn/n/Gregory Van
Duyse.
Van Duyse, excuse me. Gregory Van Duyse. Down here. It's in the comments already. And then, all right. So floor is over to you, Gregory.
Thank you so much. So, like I said, we mostly work with businesses that are medium-sized businesses. We do custom work. A lot of our clients come in and say, hey, I'm not 100% sure which project's going to have the most impact on my business. So often we will start with having an in-depth AI business assessment, AI business strategy report. We take about 100 hours. We meet with every department head. We value map every single process that they have and figure out where AI can actually make a difference. At the end of the day, this new strategy works with their current strategy, but it has AI in it. And we come up with 20 different projects that they can do to reach their goals quickly. So the whole strategic thinking part is something that we do because a lot of people need to find what are the best projects to put in place first, and where am I going to get the most bang out of the buck, the most ROI for implementing AI, and that's what we do. The second thing is then we can actually do the work, putting forward all of the projects, the security, the compliance, all of the things that we haven't talked, which is, making sure that it fits within the regulatory framework that some businesses have to deal with, or the privacy and all of that. We do all of that. We put the projects together. We also make sure that it's reliable, meaning that if your business is counting on a process to function and AI is doing it, then you have to know when it's not working anymore. And so we have 24/7 monitoring of every single process. We know exactly when it starts to not work so that we can go ahead and fix it. Normally staff does that, but now that, you're using AI to do part of what your staff does, you have to make sure it's production ready and you're counting on it and it can be counted on. And so that's what it is. That's exactly what we do. Most of the businesses we work with have about at least 25 employees, up to 500 or 1,000 employees. That's the size that really makes sense. The ROI is incredible. We see ROI of 200-300% in the first year on most projects. And finally, how to reach me. You had my LinkedIn. So for sure that works really well. We also have this free 7 pillars of AI implementation. It's a free report. It's at Insights. So insights.leap41.ca. Let me just spell that out for you. So insights.leap41.ca. If you go there, you can download the free report. We have it both as a PDF and as an audiobook because we know people are really busy and they mostly listen to stuff in the car. And that's pretty much it.
I love it. I'm going to throw those links down here in the comments. It's on the screen if you're watching on the screen. Listen, I had Gregory and his team on the show not because AI is a great topic to talk about. It's obviously an SEO topic that I kind of feel obligated to speak on. But the truth is that I know you, if you're a medium-sized organization, you're running a lot of production, you care about winning your market. You realize AI is training the world, and you're saying, well, how do I implement AI? It's the wrong question. It's not how do you implement AI. It's how do I create more value for my employees, for the ownership team, for the customer, and how do I do that with somebody that knows what they're doing? I know I need to make modules. You can now make modules as cheap as SaaS companies make them, but they're custom for you. You need somebody that understands how to implement that, somebody who understands how to protect your security, because the future and the near-term future is where each individual company is now competing based on the intelligence in their organization, just like we used to do in 1915. It really is going to be your market differentiators, how fast you can improve yourself. And you need a team that knows how to do that. And Gregory and his team at Leap 41 are that team. Go to their thing, insights.leap41.ca. Take the assessment. It's an amazing assessment. Tell Gregory you saw him on the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. And with that, we are out.